during the week, we had quite shocking news a day before the inauguration of the Bayelsa State governor-elect. The Supreme Court ruled that he was not fairly elected, and the PDP candidate was sworn in the next day. Another huge blow to the entire electoral process for Nigeria. And I always say this, whenever we hear these decisions from the courts, it almost becomes a partisan issue in the media, on social media, PDP fighting APC, oh, we won, we didn't win. And almost like nobody seems to zero in on the central player in all of this, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, who conducts these elections and is supposed to vet candidates properly and hold elections freely and fairly. Well, I have you with me, Farouk Abbas. Thanks for being here today. You're always here. You're a regular.
Thank you for having me.
I know I want to talk about INEC, but first of all, about Bayelsa. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it was quite shocking. It was shocking because, for one, I wasn't even following the case, so I felt it was a non-issue. I saw the report about 2 days before the judgment that the Supreme Court was due to deliver its decision, but I just felt it wasn't going to be anything major. That it was just, since it wasn't the election petition case, But when I heard the news, I mean, I was shocked for the APC candidate. I was devastated to say, but when I read the judgments, then I felt that there was nothing to be surprised about, because it was like anybody should have seen it coming, because this is not the first time we're having this kind of scenario. In Bayelsa in 2007, we had the same case where a House of Assembly member was sworn in, and somebody went to court to challenge him that he presented fake certificate, an affidavit of his age. He was a legal practitioner, but he had different affidavits saying one he was born 1966, another one 1970. And the court held that an affidavit was a certificate, and they nullified his election. But in that case, they said Labour Party and the other party should have a rerun within 90 days. Yeah. But they didn't say the second person who had the highest votes should be sworn in, So if you present a fake certificate or you present a document that is not valid, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You'll be sent out of office,
This was a little weird for people, though. Sorry to cut you there, because this time it was the deputy governor-elect who had the issue, and people said, well, why is the candidate carrying the burden of the deputy governor-elect? Do you think that was another way to look at it?
Yeah, well, I don't see it as the candidate carrying the burden of the deputy governor-elect, because you see, the Constitution is very clear that what's a valid nomination. For a position of governor, you would only have a valid nomination if you have a deputy that is duly nominated under the law. So if you don't nominate a deputy governor, if you only submit the name of a governorship aspirant, INEC will not accept your letter, your name, and you won't contest in the election. So it's vice versa. The benefit of the governor rubs off on the deputy, benefit of the deputy rubs off. And in law, we have a saying that you can't benefit from a document and now seek to impugn that document or challenge that document. So if you are going to marry somebody and you are going to benefit from her goodness and all that, you must also take the bad side of the lady as well. So if you have a deputy, if he has the good side, you take it. If you have the bad side, I read the deputy governor's profile on his website. They said he's 60 years old, he's been a governor before, he's been a commissioner for health, he's been a councillor. So he was politically grounded. But Leon on his own part does not have any political experience. So they needed the political heavyweights to come on the ticket. I'm sure if he didn't come on the ticket, I'm sure Leon wouldn't have gathered the kind of momentum that he gathered. So whether we like it or not, the deputy governor contributed immensely to the electoral victory of Leon, because as far as I'm concerned, I see Leon as a paperweight politician. He doesn't have any electoral, he hasn't contested an election before, so we can't judge his electoral value. Yeah. So whatever votes he got, you must give his deputy governor credit for it. So you shouldn't blame the deputy governor alone, because he's a 7th senator. They know what they were doing when they chose a 7th senator. They could have chosen somebody else who wasn't in politics or a business person. So I wouldn't blame the senator. I only blame Nigerians, because the truth is, the Electoral Act is very clear. It says clearly that when INEC publishes the name of people who want to contest for election, anybody can go to court to challenge the Form 001. INEC Form 001. If you feel an aspirant or a candidate has submitted fake documents or false information. And I've also participated in an electoral process before. I contested for election a couple of years back, and INEC published my name. And immediately they published the name on INEC website, on INEC notice board. I went there to go and look at the APC guy's qualification. And when I saw everything, I even took a picture to see whether I can analyze it or take him to court if he presented anything. But thankfully for him, he presented and in my own political party, when we were going through the screening process, our party chairman told us clearly that if you are not sure of your university certificate, don't use it, use your school set. And I have a good friend who is a university graduate, but use the school set. So, I mean...
But you've talked a lot about INEC. I want to zero in on INEC now, because most people seem not to be talking about, the Electoral Commission. And the electoral reforms, I believe, is an ongoing process. It's not something that happens just for elections. And besides, in Nigeria now, we have so many staggered elections. There's 2-3 state elections every year, which means it's an ongoing process. And INEC now, what do they keep doing wrong? Because we're 20-something years into democracy now. We should be at a level, I believe, where an issue as simple as a certificate should be able to have been spotted while they're vetting candidates? Why is this still complex for INEC?
Well, I wouldn't blame INEC. I think it's not the problem. Looking at it, blaming INEC is looking at the problem from a myopic point of view. As far as Nigeria is concerned, we don't value data. We don't have good record system. You can see what they said when they gave the visa ban. We don't keep records. If we have good record system, you don't need INEC to be able to verify your certificate. So anyone saying INEC can verify your certificate is like, it's not possible. They don't have the resources. INEC is overworked. So I think they are doing their best. It's the political parties that you should blame, because every political party has a screening committee. So if you submit your credentials to a political party, any serious political party should be able to check. We pay money. Politicians pay money for the screening. You pay money to buy forms. So when you pay your political party should be able to get a third party, maybe an auditor or a forensic expert, to verify your papers. So pushing it to INEC, I don't think I will push it to INEC. INEC has a lot they are dealing with. Even the issue of logistics for election, they've not been able to. They had about 800 litigation from this last election. So INEC they can't solve that problem for us. The political parties must be the one to take the blame.
But if the political parties don't do that, then what then happens? Are we going to keep going on with a cycle like this? So isn't there supposed to be an independent body somehow, or at least a part of INEC, even if it's not the electoral department itself? I don't know.
Yes,
but
shouldn't
there be someone who should be doing this?
There should be. INEC in the past, when Obasanjo was in office, INEC barred article from contesting, and it was challenged, and the court said that no, INEC can't buy a candidate anymore. That if anybody wants to disqualify a candidate from contesting, it has to be the court. So I think maybe in the past, INEC was trying to, because if we give INEC those powers, the problem is that people are scared that the powers may be abused. That was why they took it away. So it's the philosophical argument. That's the one side. That's one side of the story. That should INEC go back to having those powers so that you can disqualify anybody whom they feel is not qualified. But the problem is that if INEC stops you from contesting and you challenge it in court, you have the same situation again where somebody has won an election and the court says that no, this guy is qualified. You shouldn't have disqualified him.
What about the Supreme Court? Because when the Imo State decision came in, a lot of Nigerians, the opposition in particular, went, haywire. They were quite upset with the Supreme Court and even, threw around accusations at the Supreme Court. This has gone the other way now, and the opposition party has benefited from this. Does this go back to giving them, sort of the reputation that everybody has believed that the Supreme Court should have, or is this just, have they always been doing their job?
Yeah, well, as a legal practitioner, I believe the Supreme Court has always been doing their job. I have firm confidence in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is peopled by human beings, and human beings can make mistakes. There are a lot of decisions where the Supreme Court have reversed themselves. And I, for one, I particularly don't agree with the Imo State judgments, because I believe that the role of the Supreme Court is not to be conducting election, doing mathematics. So in a situation where they're saying 38 ballots, 38 units and all those things, I felt that the Supreme Court shouldn't have gone into all that issue, but I don't feel that the Supreme Court is trying to give a judgment to compensate or to show that they are independent and all that. I've always had confidence in the Supreme Court. And like they always say, a one-sided coin is a bad legal tender. There's nobody who can always win his cases. You must lose some cases. Yeah. So the Supreme Court, when people criticize the Supreme Court, they don't read the judgments. Any sane mind who reads some judgment, even if you want to criticize, you'll be measured in your criticisms. So for example, when I heard about this Bayelsa case, I was like, wow, what happened? But in reading the judgments, I just became calm and said, this is good reasoning. And the Imo case too, yeah, there are a lot of good reasoning in that case too, but I have some disagreements.
Well, Ihedioha has gone back, and it looks like the Supreme Court will be hearing again from the Supreme Court with regards to that case. Yeah. Is that unprecedented? Is that a usual thing to do? What are we expecting from that?
I wouldn't say it's a usual thing to do, because Nigeria is a highly litigious society. Ordinarily, not all matters should get to the Supreme Court, but Nigerians, they want to get to the final say, they want to get to the Supreme Court. So ordinarily, we shouldn't go back to court. But if you feel very strongly that what the Supreme Court has said, you are not clear about it, you have a right. The law allows you to go back for them to review their decision. But the truth is that they don't review their decisions just anyhow. There must have been some fundamental mistake. So it's a little bit dicey. It's a little bit dicey, because in most cases, when the Supreme Court reverses itself, what usually happens is maybe they deliver a case in 2001, then maybe 2007, another case comes up. They now say, we're not following that decision again in 2001. You rarely see a case where they say, Mr. A should go and sleep. Then somebody comes back 7 days later and say, no, I don't want to sleep. Tell me to go and eat. It's very rare.
We're going to be watching that very closely. And of course, Ondo State and Edo State are coming up. A lot of eyes on INEC and the candidates as those elections come up. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, sir. Yeah.
But like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter at rubbin'minds now is the handle. Please use the hashtag rubbin'minds when you tweet us. Have a good Sunday. I'll see you next week.